Well, welcome into the Bobby Carpenter Show. Excited to have everyone here on a big Victory Monday, Schlegs. And Victory Mondays are always nice. And it's
I
always
love
good
them.
to have that. Getting fired up here. There's a lot of things that went on across the world of college football. But I think first and foremost, the one thing that we are going to be focused in on here is the Ohio State Buckeyes and recapping that game against Penn State. One heck of a game that the Buckeyes went and played over there, took care of business. 20-13. Didn't even feel like it was probably that close at points. There was a game of roller coasters early, but once they settled in, you felt like they were in a pretty good spot. A lot of love to go around, a lot of compliments to be shared for sure. But I will say this, and I'll start off with this. Outside of the play, and the specific plays, and maybe even the game calling by Chip Kelly and Jim Knowles, and how I thought that was really good. The thing that I was the most impressed with was the one thing that was attacked with these guys was culture and toughness and leadership and all of those things, and how this program didn't have any of those things, and the guys don't fight for each other, and they don't understand this because they leave the alma mater, they don't they go pray before Carmen, Ohio, and all of the nonsense Schlegs that we went over and talked about last week. How they came out, you saw energy, you saw passion, you saw resolve, that when they went down by 10 early, they were unwavering, they were unflappable. Will Howard did a great job. You saw the offensive line step up, incredibly tough, got after it back and forth, leaned in, and said, we're going to run the football. And then at the end of the game, and you saw guys step up, K-Mac, McDonald, he did a great job. They had multiple stops. Igman Newsom, who people said, he's this, he holds, whatever. You saw some bad with him, but he did a great job, had a huge interception. There were so many players that stepped up big, but the energy that the guys brought to each other in a hostile environment of 108, 9, 10,000 people, whatever it was, you could see how much they cared for each other. You could see how much it meant to them. And they were on each other's hats, showing positivity, relentless, and then to finish the game up with a goal line stand and a 60-yard drive with 5 minutes and 13 seconds to go, I believe 11 play Schlegs, all runs. It was a culture drive. That was a culture game. Ryan talked about it and how important it was and how they talked about it internally. Didn't say anything externally, talked about it internally. So that was phenomenal. We're also going to have largest crowd ever, by the way. Pat just threw this up to me. 111,000 fans for the big noon kick. And it was a raucous environment, Schlegs. I'm sure it was wild and crazy. And we're going to have Lathan Ransom here to join us in the second segment. He was back in action, looked good, and did a good job. But I'm going to give you the floor, sir.
Oh, man.
I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, we talked about it last week, Bob, like leading up to this game. We gave our keys, but Ohio State needed to control the crowd, right? Play within yourself. Oregon got flagged 4 times before, false starts, delay of games, etc. They need to focus on establishing the run. We talked about it all week, and you and I even discussed, we knew what this game was going to be about within the first 2 to 3 series. Yeah. And we saw that. And we also talked about the biggest matchup of this game was Ohio State's offensive line versus the Penn State defensive line. And week before, Ohio State being 1-10 on third downs and losing the time of possession battle. Okay, so take all those things into consideration. They did those things, right? They handled the crowd, and the crowd was in it, right? So, boom, they go down, and what do we see in that first series, right? We saw like an unabated, some lanes being open, a lot of like third and short, right? They had 2 first downs on third and short conversions. Then we got them into third and long. Once they crept into the red zone, boom, kick a field goal. Then you go out there, the slant wasn't there, pick 6, crowd should be all in it. What do the Buckeyes do? And this goes back to what we love and what you and I have seen in Will Howard, and that's the resolve to then go back out right down the field. You just threw a pick 6, you go right down the field, you score a touchdown. And some of those, great play calling. We talked about the schematics of this, and Penn State showed us their hand early what they were wanting to do, though I was very surprised they didn't get Warren involved in this game until later in this game and really didn't utilize them the way that I thought they would. But man beaters, bunch, You saw it in the Dallas Cowboy game and the Falcons game. That should never happen. But bunches create problems when you're playing with man. And we saw that in the first touchdown. Emeka's the point guy. Boom, fakes the block, runs like almost like a real route into the corner of the end zone. Touchdown. Then you also saw the football acumen of a Caleb Downs going through a rub route, coming over the top, breaking up a pass. I believe it was on Warren. And our guys being able to do that and play at different levels. So just that before I get rolling on other rants, Bob, I thought Cody Simon, guys, and people said, like, good for him, 10 tackles at the end of TFL, had a big sack. Guys, Cody is, one, he's a quiet, like, non-verbal type guy. He's very, very direct. He's almost, he speaks a little bit more than Tommy and is cerebral like that, but he plays with a big chip. And I love the way he plays. And he's been very, very consistent this year and made a lot of plays. And then that being said, and then the offensive line and all of the noise. We saw, Bob, what I was always looking for was what was going to be our jab in the run game. We saw it early and we saw it often, and we saw it to end the game. And the jab became the inside run. With the outside runs and the options to the side and the end around, like that those become your counter and counters, right? Your counter punch. But the inside run game was pivotal. Starting there, Carson Hintzman doing a great job filling in. Donnie, yeah, he gave up 2 sacks to a really, really talented guy. Will he get better at that? 100%. But guys, when you want to take somebody's will, it doesn't matter how good you are at rushing the passer, when we're going to run the ball straight down your throat, side nugget, go hit up Seth McLaughlin and download and buy the Run the Damn Ball hat, because after the game, I said, Seth, send me the link. I don't want a free one. I'm buying it. I'm sending it, right? I want it shipped so I can wear it on the show this week. I got that done. Super proud of these men. We always talk about in the weight room, you have a responsibility. You have to come in and you bring energy, right? And sometimes you might not have it on that day, but you got to bring energy, because energy then produces enthusiasm, right? Enthusiasm for your teammates, enthusiasm for your group, right? What you guys are doing, that helps produce the effort. And the energy and way that they were able to, they didn't really start fast the way that they wanted to, but they responded, and that just kept going, man. Energy and enthusiasm, effort across the board. Really, really proud of these guys. Not only the offensive line, Bob, and I know I'm going long.
It's okay. Sykes, this is your show, dude.
But dadgum, guys, the defense. We talked about how they've been really stingy in the red zone. Guys, Penn State only scored 6 points in this game. And the interception by IGB, they had the 35-yard run to Warren, right? Whatever, they're going on the left-hand side. And there's some things that you can clean up there. But you finish. You play. That's what we always talk about, Bob. Just give us another chance. Give us another opportunity. Just give us one more stop to go make a play. IGB caps it, finishes it off going into the second half with an INT. Really help propel you going when you get the ball back in the second half. Super proud of this overall team win in what Will Howard said, Stad Valley.
Absolutely. It was a matchup game. And everybody knew the significance. Ryan didn't downplay it. We'll get into some of the comments and different things later. But there was so much. We talk about the defensive line rotation. Talk about Lathan Ransom, who we're going to have come back on, come on with us, coming back from, injury, playing. And people didn't know how long he would be out. You're still rotated. You saw Jermaine Matthews get in there. I mean, they were able to rotate guys through and did a good job. And for Carson Hintzman, the guy Schlegel, who started last year at center and did a pretty good job. This year they bring in Seth McLaughlin. He made some comments towards the bowl game about practices and, were they practicing enough or whatever. And then he's been sitting by his side. And this is where culture comes into play. This is where culture is big, where you have a guy who could have then took his ball and went home and left after the season, could have left in the spring transfer portal, stays through it, battles, fights, doesn't win the starting guard job. On the right side, Teger's playing over there, and just continues to improve what he needs to do. Always getting better. And then when his number's called, he's ready to go. And he goes out there and plays huge. against a Penn State team that's athletic up front. They have a really good defensive line and some pretty good box linebackers. And so what a job by him for staying ready, for him believing in what they were doing, him understanding the importance of what they were doing. And so like that to me epitomizes the culture, because we'll get into the plays, we'll get into, all the other stuff that was called and everything that happened. But the reality is like culture, effort, you saw the guys back and forth celebrating with each other. Schlegel legitimately looked like they were having fun.
Yeah.
And it was probably the best thing that they were on the road, because they went out there, they had 74 guys or whatever you travel. It was just your team, just you together, your guys, ride or die, and go make plays, have fun, and understand you're going to have to pick each other up. There's going to be times where the O is going to have to pick up the D is going to have to pick up the O, and that's just going to be part of it. But stay in the foxhole together, help your brothers, help your group, and give energy, like you talked about, that passion, that love. And when you see that start permeating around, you're watching Will Howard do the little Drew Aller first downs, and you're seeing Seth McLaughlin getting on everybody's hat, defensive guys doing the same thing, getting involved with it. And it's a fine line with the energy and like the toughness and the bravado, because you don't want it to cost you. Because I know Ohio State on a I believe a drive that they scored on,
it was a personal foul.
Goes down, and gets a taunting, steps over top of him. And so when you hear everybody, IGB got spit on and no one ran down there, what are you going to do, run over and punch the guy? They already got the 15 yards. Be smart, take your penalty, and keep walking. It doesn't mean that it doesn't matter to you. And like you can run over and kind of defend your guy, but it's a fine line between being aggressive and being foolish. And I thought Ohio State kicked butt between the whistle, did everything they needed to do at that point in time, and then walked away and did everything great. And they didn't cost their team. And so that, to me, was a huge element of it. As everybody sits here and they want to talk about, you want to see this, you want to see that, and these different elements. Intelligence on the field, emotional regulation, being able to get up, but then also not do anything that's going to jeopardize your squad. It's a huge, huge piece of it. Go ahead. I'll give you one with your last word.
Two examples, Bob. Trevion and Q. Huge blocks. Were they juiced? Yeah. Did they go over on top of the guy and taunt the guy? No. They were juiced because they did their job. Yeah. They did their job at an elite level, right? For their quarterback. I didn't need to taunt nobody. I just did it with my pads, right? Like, that's what you want to see. That's what we want. And then celebrate with your teammates. Beautiful.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we got Lathan Ransom. We'll keep him waiting. Yes. They got another game this week. The man was out there playing, battling, one of the leaders of this team. We got Export, though. Before we get out of here, I want to tell you guys about Export. Protect what matters most. Export mouth guards, designed by NHL team Dennis, worn by professional athletes. Export guards are scientifically tested to absorb those high-impact hits, protecting both your teeth and your brain. They feature 3 layers of custom protection, included patented use of carbon fiber. They 3D print them for a snug fit for better performance, max comfort, clear communication. They're going to do a great job so you can focus on your game, not on your gear. Don't take chances with your safety. Exportguards.com/Bobby. Save 15% today on your order. Export, protect what matters most. Lathan Ransom, Ohio State safety, up next.
We were called soft last year. You don't want to be soft, especially when you come to the playoffs. So that's going to be a process throughout this season of establishing us as a harder team here in the.
I'm Garage Beer, and this is Bobby Carpenter.
Garage Beer. Beer-flavored beer.
Beef with an F? Okay, my bad. It's crisp and cool, and it doesn't taste like... I'm Bobby Carpenter. I drink in garages because my wife says I don't belong inside. If you like a cold breeze on your bag, drink Garage Beer. It's American, and so can you. Garage Beer. Beer-flavored beer.
I don't buy into this nonsense, this conspiracy nonsense that he's got his money and he's dogging it. That's ridiculous.
All right, now ready to welcome in one of our favorites, guest of the show multiple times, doing a great job here this season, working his way in, getting healthy again, Mr. Lathan Ransom. Lathan, how are we doing today, sir?
I'm doing good, man. I appreciate you guys having me back on.
Listen, we always are here for you. We know you got a lot going on. Getting healthy last week. I mean, we feel pretty good coming in and out of the game. I know, obviously, a week off, you get freshened up maybe with your legs, but want to make sure you look good out there and walking off the field.
I felt good. Should just give thanks to really our training room staff, Stu, all the guys in there, Sean, Solo, helps me out a lot, man. It was a stressful last couple of weeks, not really knowing when I was going to be able to get back and get to play, but spent a lot of time with them, exhausting hours, just living in there, doing everything I can to get back in and play at the level I was playing at.
What are you going to give? How are you going to thank those guys when you graduate? I mean, you're going to go somewhere else, play at the next level. Those dudes, they've been your guys. I mean, I feel like we're going to have to get them some sort of gift, Lathan. They're like almost your, I don't know if you say brothers, maybe uncles now.
I always laugh and say that I'm always laughing like, Stu, man, you're going to be in my wedding whenever it's funny, too. I talked to Stu. I said, hey, Stu, how much would it be on my second contract if I just paid for you to just be my personal trainer? We was laughing and joking about the location and all that. But nah, man, I get emotional sometimes after the games when I see Stu and really, obviously the whole staff, but Stu's who I work with one-on-one and have a great relationship with. And there's so much that he's done to help me be able to play in games, getting dinged up and stuff like that, man. So just blessed Stu, man.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I mean, we hear LeBron pays $1.5 million for his body. Your body is your asset that you're going out there and playing. And I think that's another thing too, Lathan, that a great point that you brought up. There's a lot of people behind the scenes that allow all these guys to play at max capacity, whether it's in the strength staff, whether it's in the training room, the equipment room. We know all you guys got to go out there and have the right swag. I mean, you want to talk about a terrible job, talk about EQ on Saturdays, right? Trying to keep you guys in the reg. But I want to go into this. Talk to us about this game. Starting out, defensive mindset, hostile environment, just silver bullets, guys being dudes, Lathan. Tell us how it felt out there on Saturday.
Yeah, it felt good. It was great to see the team, great leadership when, like you were saying, there's ebbs and flows to the game. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, and no one got rattled. We went down 10-0 fast, and defense wasn't rattled. Defense was honestly excited to get back onto that field and get a stop and get the offense back up there. So I think it was so cool and just living in that moment. And obviously, I think that's probably one of my favorite places to play out away, just because of the environment. The fans are always into it. Penn State always a tough team to play against. And just seeing the way that everyone handled the energy, the whole game. And like you said, when you travel, it's us against the whole state of Pennsylvania. So when you go in there with how many ever dudes we travel and you got juice, you got energy, and they feel it. They feel it. No matter how loud they say Happy Valley is, it wasn't as loud as it was at the end of the game. And I feel that, honestly, the Buckeye fans were a little louder than him at the end of the game. So it's so exciting, and it was honestly just a cool moment for the whole team, for the defense, for the offense, man, and I was happy to be a part of it.
Ryan said afterwards, talked about the game, that internally, you guys talked about it being, kind of a program building game, a program defining game, culture game. When you hear that and those things are discussed, and there's a lot of things that always happen, Lathan, behind closed doors, and we don't need to hear, any of that stuff. But when you heard those things, focusing up, you've been a guy who's been here now for 5 years. You've got a lot of other guys that have played a lot of football. It was going to be a big game regardless, but going in after Oregon and maybe not the performance that people wanted to see at Nebraska, what was the week like leading into that and the conversations that were being had with guys?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is not making the game bigger than it has to be. I think that there's a fine line in between, how big the game is, but not making it too big and making the moment too big. And like you said, you've seen against Nebraska, and honestly, look at our whole schedule. Every game, especially after the loss to Oregon, every game is a must-win game. Every game is the biggest game of the season when you go up to play that game. And just knowing, especially this one being a top 5 matchup and going in, I think it was, like you said, it was a defining moment. Just we've been bashed on for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Ohio State's been bashed on it. And it's always funny is when for 2 weeks we've been bashed on and now everyone wants to bring us up. So, that's why I try to tell the younger dudes stuff, man. Ignore the outside noise, because as quick as they are to build you up, is as fast as they are to tear you down. So it's funny is looking how that is. But yeah, I think just going into that game, we knew all eyes were on us and how we were going to perform. And I think the whole team handled it perfect, man. And even though there were some ugly things in the game and there were some great things in the game, I handled it perfect, got the win, and that's all we needed to do.
I would say this too. Bob and I happened to be at practice together, and we walked up on probably one of the most physical inside drills that I've seen in a long, long time, which kind of resonates to what you were talking about. And that goes into you train like you fight like you train. I don't think people understand how hard it is that you guys practice and how those hard practices prepare you for the situations that you face when you play in the game. Tell us about your week of preparation and just how that leads into the confidence that you have when you go out on game day to be able to have the attitude like, all right, our job, we're up. Let's go do what we do. Another opportunity to go make plays, right? Like that's the mindset you got to have on defense.
Yeah, I think Coach Day does such a great job of, since I've been here, there's been multiple dudes that said it too. The practices be harder than the games a lot of the time. And that's not a diss to the teams that we play. It's the fact that, first of all, we're going against the best offense every day. And then the fact that, like you said, it's hard. Best offense against the best defense every day. Got to win the situations. And Coach Day does such a great job of emphasizing what the situations are. Whether we got a 2-minute period, we got a third down period, we got a short yardage period, and we got to win. Like the defense, when you're onto the field, like so we had to do this past weekend. When you're on the field in this situation, you have to win. And I think that we did a great job of finding ways to win those situations. And at the end of the day, when we get there on Sundays and Coach Day goes through each situation to see if we won or we lost them, they matter. So we try to emphasize every situation because we know winning the situations wins us the game.
So, you start talking about situations and everything, and what Penn State coming in, the very versatile offense. And I've watched a lot of Penn State this year. I've watched a lot of Kansas prior, and Kolenicki's offenses are very diverse, do a lot of things. Heck, I don't know if they knew fully what was going on. You look at all the guys and the way people were getting the ball. What were the challenges when you were facing that offense? You being a guy, back level guy of understanding they can run it with a lot of guys. They have a lot of motions, a lot of shifts. Like how difficult was that for you, safeties and linebackers especially, to kind of be on the same page?
Yeah, like you said, it was handling the shifts and motions. We knew from the jump how much shifts and motions that this team done. And that honestly, against Oregon, who also did a lot of the same things, that caused a couple issues when we did that against Oregon. So we knew that we had to fix it up coming against Penn State because they was going to learn from that. And like you said, it was knowing that whatever you see right now, the window dressing is not what you're going to see by the time they're about to snap the ball. So they come out in certain formations where there was that muddle huddle, switch to a different formation, or it was 44, he's the quarterback, and then they clap, and now 15 is the quarterback. So stuff like that, they're always window dressing and changing things. It's making sure that everyone's on the same page. We didn't go in with a super crazy game plan. That's one thing that was nice, was that we went in with our certain coverages, our certain calls, and we were going to stick to those. Whatever happens, we're going to stick to those. And I think that we did that and went in there and executed at a high level, and it ended up like we wanted it to.
Yeah, turning point in that game. I think it's back-to-back weeks, guys. Goal line stands. Goal line stand. They just pass those things around. No, they don't. Like, that's super impressive. Tell us about that last one, right? So they go in, they bring 71 in motion to try to kick somebody out. Absolutely whiffs on a couple of them. K-Mac gets some great push penetration. Then you go to fourth down. Like, walk us through that, because we were just talking about levels, and it's just like Bob and I simultaneously. He tweeted it. I was thinking it because I'm not a big tweeter, but boom, you just immediately took it away. Like, didn't even slow play it or anything. Like, I'm gonna jump this guy because that's who they wanted to get the ball to. Walk us through that mental process of that goal line stand of what you guys were thinking plays 1 through 4.
Yeah. So first of all, like you guys, our saying on our defense is give us an inch and we'll defend it. So no matter what the circumstances are, no matter where the ball's on, they get to that 1 yard line, we're not giving up. We're not giving up regardless. And I think, like you said, the D-line got great pushback on the first really 3 plays and stuff them in the run. And then we knew one of their favorite route concepts was trying to rub with the receiver and get 44 the ball to the flag, especially in the red zone, especially on the short yardage right there. So I knew that. It's funny if you look on the tape, 71's out there. No one's lined up even over him.
Yeah.
He's been a motion in. So 71 motions in. I knew that they were going to try to get 40 because I knew they weren't going to try to run the ball again. So I knew they were going to try to get 44 to the flat. So we jumped that, and then Caleb did a great job of coming off and helping Cody on that tight end. And I mean, it was a great play. A lot of motions were going through. IGB almost pushed Caleb over, celebrating, and then just to talk about then the offense gets on the field, and man, the offense run 5 minutes off the clock. I think it was 5 minutes or something like that. I mean, being a defensive player, if someone runs the ball every play and takes 5 minutes off the clock, that really takes the heart out of a defense. And I think, like you said, I seen Carson go in there. The first play, QB sneak, the emotion that he was showing, man, hats off to the offense, hats off to the offensive line, man, making some big plays, especially when we needed to. When the whole stadium, all Pennsylvania knows that we running the ball and to still get those first downs, man, it was awesome to watch from the sideline.
It was pretty remarkable. I'm glad you brought that up because as a defensive guy, you get the stop, but hey, if they go 3 and out, you're back up and you've got to go do a 2-minute situation then, probably on a pretty short field. And so fantastic job. The offense, I mean, is there any better way, Lathan, when you're sitting there? Like once we got 2 first downs, I'm thinking, man, like they're running stutters, they're running quarterback sweep. I mean, they got Will involved and watching those guys. You go against them every day in practice. And so you got your specific drills. But like watching G on the edge, like seal it up for Will, like in the backs blocking. Like I don't think people realize how important it is to have your skill guys being out there on the perimeter getting that done for you.
Yeah, I think it just shows how selfless all those players are. Like you said before, I think the biggest example, like you said, is Trey and Q. 2 of the best running backs in the country sharing touches. Like that's a great example right there of just the 2 dudes with great personalities, great human beings, just going out there doing whatever they take for the team to win. And then, like you said, receivers out there blocking, G out there blocking. I mean, people forget G was a receiver, and G's completely bought into being a tight end and going out there sacrificing his body every game, every play. I think just screams about the type of person he is. And then, like you said, the O-line, man, all week they hear about how they're going to struggle against this Penn State D-line, and they're getting bashed all week. And they go in there and, I mean, 5 minutes of just running the ball. Like, I don't think people understand. That's insane. Like, that is actually crazy. So I'm just happy I got to watch that. I think that was probably one of the coolest moments, just seeing the O-line come together like that. And I'm talking about will the way to win. Like, man, that's just, it says it just gets me excited even just talking about it.
So, and that's what you're watching the game, Lathan. We'll leave you with this, man. And everybody looked like there was a lot of fun. It doesn't mean like fun isn't always like you're winning. Doesn't mean everything's going great, but there was a togetherness, a connectivity, like in an element like where you could see that everybody was pulling for one another and connecting, like literally enjoying the game. And so I guess the challenge is like as a leader, you know, you're not responsible for yourself. You're responsible for yourself and everyone else. And so the challenge like of keeping that moving forward, keeping that positivity, you know, through these next handful of weeks, like what does that entail on your end?
I think first of all is I think the biggest reason there was so much emotion and so many people having a good time is like I said before, these last 2 weeks, man, they were tough. They were tough. I mean, we had to sit down after a loss, a whole bye week, watch teams play, cheer about how we're the worst team and we're overrated, this and that, and then go out there and not play the way we wanted to play against Nebraska, and then go out there now in a top 5 matchup, and we go out there and finally play the way we should be playing, physical, fast football. And I think that's what we did that. And like you said, we got to keep that going because we got to go out there and play like that against Purdue. Like you've seen how many times Purdue has upset teams, especially after big games like that, and across the country that every game is a close game now. There's rare when you see blowouts, especially after a game that took so much emotion like this past weekend. So I think just emphasize that this game's over now. We're focused on Purdue, the challenges that they uphold, and to continue this rolling as the season goes on.
Absolutely, Lathan, and we appreciate it. Thank you for spending some time with us today, man. Coach Tress used to always say November's for contenders. And if you can set yourself up to be in a position now where you've got everything in front of you still and you can see the finish line, just keep grinding out each and every week, man. Stay healthy, and we'll talk again soon, all right?
Appreciate you guys.
See you, bro.
That's our guy, Lathan Ransom, man. One of the best. Does a great job. Great leader for that team. And dive in a little more of that next, Schlegel, that leadership element, that last drive, and talk about some of the run game, what Chip Kelly's doing, and maybe even, I don't even know if people maybe noticed a little subtle tweak that they had, changing up some of the stuff with the running backs. We got that coming up next on the Bobby Carpenter Show. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Bobby Carpenter. I want to give a huge thank you and a shout out to Affinity Whole Health, the leaders in the testosterone replacement industry. I've been on a testosterone replacement program for a few years right now, and I've got to tell you, it's been an absolute game changer. Affinity Whole Health has allowed me to be the best version of myself, both mentally and physically. I loved how easy it was to get started. I booked my free consultation, met with my prescriber, checked my numbers, and Affinity Whole Health designed a program that was customized to fit my needs. So I'm telling you guys, if you have low energy, you want to get rid of that spare tire around the waist or take it to the next level in the bedroom, Affinity Whole Health is the place to get started. So don't wait any longer. 5 minutes of your time, book your free consultation. You're going to love the way you feel. All right, Schlegel, so I want to lean into this. Number one, that drive was phenomenal. 11 plays, 11 straight runs, 5 minutes, 13 seconds. Number of guys running. Started that thing off with Quinshawn. They had some will in there. Trey got some runs. It was everything that you would really hope for in the game. And it was everything you really wanted to see from this Buckeye offense. And, you just look at this. Number one, the versatility of runs. They've run a lot of zone. And, talking to people like zone running, it's two guys, you're coming off, and you're taking a step to the right or left, either inside or outside, and giving the back a lot of room to kind of pick some ways to run. You can do some formation things, and you can have, a tight end come back across and some other stuff that changes it a little bit. But I don't know if you noticed, they ran some more gap scheme in this game. And on that final drive, they ran like what people would call a stutter or a counter, pulling a guard and then a guard back around. I think Bennett Christian around as well, doing a great job there with him, hitting that thing up inside. And so the change up of some of these runs, like this is a Chip Kelly offense now, to me, Schlegel, that looks like the one we saw at UCLA. And the UCLA offense was potent. And now he's got players that make it different. So the variability with it, I think, has been something that's pretty darn impressive.
And it's also getting your running backs to be able to do what they do well, which is they hit the hole fast and hard, man. And then being able to come off of that with the quarterback run or the option into the boundary like we saw, Bob. So it's like, hey, I got this, but I also got to be aware of that. Then who's going to have the responsibility? And what did they do on that one where they ran the first option? Remember, Will ran that stuff at Kansas State, but what did they do? They ran quads. So not only are they able to get in certain things by, hey, we're going to come downhill, run some more of that gap scheme, and we're going to be having some pullers, et cetera, but then we can also window dress this with formation because they've been beat on certain things. Now they don't even have a corner over there, right? Because he's over with quads. Boom. Speed option to the boundary with Will, right? So you're either going to take the quarterback or you're going to take the running back. Who do you got, defensive end? Proof David Copperfield, big game. So I think we saw what Chip did really, really well in this is take advantage of what they were doing. Yeah. And I heard some other commentators say that and like, how is that going to look when you get another defensive coordinator? And I would say their defense is really, really good there. But that's what Chip does, right? That's the element that he brings. And this is the other thing, too, and somebody brought this up, and I think it's very true. It might have been Maurice Clarett, and I liked it. Guys, these guys, first off, I can't stand hearing about the $20 million team. Most of that was to our own guys, just so everybody knows. All right, number two, all these guys haven't played together. And then you heard about, well, why didn't this offensive line, why wouldn't this be the one coming out of the bye week? Guys, it takes time to figure it out. Mm-hmm. And they figured it out, and they still got to win. And then you go on the road, and then now this happens, right? They're like, oh, why didn't this happen before? Hey, man, like you come up with a plan, you execute violently, you see what happens, boom, you plant the flag, you execute violently. And that's what we saw. And then you also see in this game, which was really critical, and you and I talked about this, Bob. We were 2 for 2 on field goals. Game's completely different if you're not. So if you look at the fourth quarter, guys, we got the ball at the end of the third quarter that went into the fourth quarter. We go down, kick a 39-yard field goal. Defense has that big goal line stand that ran a lot of time off the clock. We get the ball on the 1 or 2 yard line, and then we go 5-13 ball game. Like, that's how this is in college football. That was a great football game. And I knew we had this game won, the 2-minute timeout, and I saw Donnie's emotion, right? And like, I mean, he was going crazy. Like, I like to see Donnie go crazy. Josh is that type of dude too, right? When it's really competitive and it's really tough and physical, you saw that from those guys. They wanted it. Just keep running the damn ball. And that's what you love to see. That's what this team's identity always wanted to be. It took a little bit of time, but versus a top 10 defense, they were able to impose their will. And yeah, part of it was scheme. Part of it was just guys being dudes. And as Donnie said, dropping their nuts, right? And I like to say, drop your sack and attack. And that's what you saw in that last drive, which really, for me, was what I want to see carried over, going on in the future of this season.
And I don't know if you noticed this, Schlegs, the changeup. So they had been starting TreVeyon Henderson at the beginning of the year running, and then they're getting Q in. And I think just with the guys' running styles and what their attributes are, what they're good at, their strengths. Carlos Lathan, the running backs coach, flipped it up. And I don't know if you noticed, like Q was taking first and second. Trey was coming in on second and third because he's really good at pass pro. He's real at the backfield. Q's a little more of a hammer. And I think that changeup, I mean, it got both guys going in a big way, but I think it was also crazy beneficial just to how the game ultimately worked and how they were able to work that rotation. It's something that kind of is very subtle. And you look like both guys carried the ball and got about the same touches that they've been getting. But sometimes like how you're hitting first, who you're bringing in and keeping it going. You saw like when Quinshawn was coming off the sideline, he was furious. He wanted to stay in there. And it was good. Like that's the emotion you see in a good way. Guys want to stay in. They want to close stuff out. They want to play. I don't need to see a guy come over and like get pissed and then throw their helmet. Like I don't need that. But you want to watch guys that it means a lot to them. It matters a lot to them. And you saw that. So the running game was big. It was critically important. Did a great job with that. And, we'll get into the headlines this afterwards, talking about some of the players of the game and the whatnot, because they've been really stinking good. But that running game, packing it with them, what did they have, 180 some odd?
Tough Gutchies.
Yep, on the ground. They outrushed Penn State in a big way. And Penn State, I mean, the 3 for 47 with Tyler Warren was big. And then Aller had a couple of big runs. But Allen and Singleton, 27 and 15 yards. I mean, you're talking about 42 yards on 18 carries with 2 of the better running backs you're going to find in the country and in the Big Ten for sure. And they shut them down. So the run defense was there. Ohio State was able to run the ball. We can get into the third down stuff and different things, Schlegs, but I think Ohio State, as I was looking at this, I was like pulling out some of like my different stats and different situations. You heard Lathan talk about it. I think third downs, Ohio
3 of 11, Penn State, 6 of 13.
6 of 13, so almost 50%. That's pretty good. Just if you're in the upper 40s, that's great on offense. And you look at Penn State, 3 of 11, so under 30%. If you have a 15% delta like that, that is big. That means you're doing something well on third down. So great job there for the Buckeyes. All right, coming up next, we got to hit a break. We got our headlines here on the Bobby Carpenter Show. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Bobby Carpenter. I want to give a huge thank you and a shout out to Affinity Whole Health, the leaders in the testosterone replacement industry. I've been on a testosterone replacement program for a few years right now, and I've got to tell you, it's been an absolute game changer. Affinity Whole Health has allowed me to be the best version of myself, both mentally and physically. I loved how easy it was to get started. I booked my free consultation, met with my prescriber, checked my numbers, and Affinity Whole Health designed a program that was customized to fit my needs. So I'm telling you guys, if you have low energy, you want to get rid of that spare tire around the waist or take it to the next level in the bedroom, Affinity Whole Health is the place to get started. So don't wait any longer. 5 minutes of your time, book your free consultation. You're going to love the way you feel. All right, now we got our headlines brought to you by our friends over at Affinity Whole Health. They offer personalized treatment plans to help you feel better if you've got weight loss, low energy, muscle loss, poor sleep. Maybe you just don't have the juice to go do the things you want to do. You got the holiday season now upon you. It's still beautiful in the Midwest. You want to get outside, do some things. You're coaching your kids. You don't have the juice. Go see Affinity Whole Health. They can help you optimize your life. They can customize a program directly to you. You go to the office. After you go to AffinityWholeHealth.com, you schedule your free consult. They'll develop a program for you. You'll get you on it. They ship it to your house within 2 days, so you're ready to rock. No downtime. That is AffinityWholeHealth.com. Join them like I did. All right, Schlegs. We're going to go right here with the offensive line, the players of the game and what these dudes are about. And I think it's pretty impressive that you had Donovan Jackson, you had Carson Hinsman, you had Seth McLaughlin, and you had Mr. Fryer out there doing a great job, leading the way, grading out as champions, silver bullets of the game, in a game where you rush for 180 yards on the road and run the clock out. There's nobody else that it should have been.
No, absolutely. It should have been them. They all should be having to run the damn ball hats and whatever, right? And here's the thing. They played with emotion. And you got to give Fry a lot of credit, as much as everybody wants to criticize
him. Give him his flowers. Give him his flowers, man.
They knew the task at hand. They knew they had to win their one-on-ones and equalize the defensive line and the linebackers, and they ran the damn ball at will. And I mean, again, we go back and we talk about like winning the rushing battle, right? And in this game, it was what, like, oh, dadgummit, that was the second half. Here's my stats right here. You had think about this, 120 to 176. That's 56 yards. Guys, that's the last drive. How does Penn State win the rushing battle? Stop them. Get off the field. You're 3-11. Where do they get those 3 first downs? 2 of them came on the first series, on the first drive, guys. So that means for the remainder of the game, it was, 1 of 9. So I take that all to say this. Defensively, what is your job? Get off the field. Give the offense an opportunity. You have your chances of winning the rushing battle throughout that game. But guess what? You got to stop them. And they didn't get stopped. And that's what you wanted to see from these guys, from all the stuff that's been talked about. These guys played with a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of effort, man, and they ran the damn football. Super proud of those guys.
The next thing, too, Ryan Day, on the significance, Pat, of this game, and we talked about it. I think externally people said anything. Ryan didn't talk about it during the week, and Lathan said, there was conversations that were had in the matchup game and everything. But you hear what him say, we're at a crossroads. This was a big game for us. We didn't want to publicly say that, which is key. Did not want to publicly say that. But yeah, we said it behind closed doors. I said, and they won. That was a program-defining win because of everything that happened. You lose to Oregon by a point, by the way, but then that just manifests itself into Nebraska and people start asking questions. I think it's safe to say that all the questions that you had were answered. I still got to go continue to do this, and consistency is a big piece, but it was highly, highly impressive.
Yeah, and it's okay to come out and say that, guys. I mean, like people are crazy on this stuff, right? So, hey, here's the deal. We saw it at practice, Bob. Those guys knew that this was a crossroads for their season, and they wanted to be able to display the things that they believe in, and that is their culture, and that is being tough, and that is running the football, and that's going into a hostile environment, a 3-4 matchup, though they were favored by 3.5 in this game, right? Still being able to go on the road. They, historically have beaten Penn State, but it doesn't matter. You still got to go play the game, and they did it. And if you go back and even think about this game, there was a lot of things, right? There was the Q fumble that got turned over, which it should have been. Then you had the IGB interception. That was 100% an interception. I don't think Q's fumble was. But then you have the fumble by Will Howard that went over the pylon, though didn't really go over the pylon.
Yeah,
right?
Tough. That's a 50-50 call.
50-50, and guess what? They called it, right? So you got to go. Right, so even there, they were gifted, and they could have flipped that. I really felt at halftime the game could have easily have been 21-3, no contest, but it wasn't. But what do? You have resiliency. You come out, you keep swinging, and they played that way from start to finish with each other collectively as a team. It was awesome to watch.
Absolutely tremendous. All right, we got some tailgate talk. We'll get to your questions brought to you by Real Truck coming up next.
Building a home for the people who are worth it. Stepping out, throwing in a line, and dropping the tailgate for a picnic. And finding far-off campsites with the people you're closest to. Upgrade your truck, Jeep, or Bronco with over 1 million parts and accessories. And bring your truck to life. Real Truck.
All right, welcome into Tailgate Talk, brought to you by friends over at Real Truck. They have the most stuff you're going to find to custom outfit your truck, Jeep, or Bronco. They look absolutely tremendous. The number one accessory brand. Schlegel has done it. I've done it, Jeep and truck. Go to realtruck.com, soup your truck up this holiday season, or maybe for a friend or loved one. And here's the best part. If you spend $100, they're then going to give you a free Real Truck hat. All you have to do is use promo code Bobby at checkout. So $100 at realtruck.com for our lovely, wonderful listeners and viewers. They will give you a free hat with that, Real Truck hat. Get some nice swag to go along with it. So go to realtruck.com and check it out. All right, Shakes, we're going to do some tailgate talk here. If we can get Pat to throw some of these ones up from the tweet that I threw out this morning. I mean, it's always better. Like the anger is always is tougher when we lose. And, a lot of people go away. The trolls, they've been beaten back a little bit. We're going to go one with Kyle here. It's down at the bottom, Pat, if you can see this. And this was one of the things that we talked to Lathan about and how big it was. And you start saying, I added some stuff about the game, threw out your question. He said, add in that they all looked like they had an attitude/edge that they seem to have been missing for quite some time. And I don't know, Schlegel, that they were like missing the edge. The Nebraska game was kind of flat. It was off of the bye. I think that was an outlier. I think that was an anomaly. And because Nebraska is good, and I think their outlier was the game against Indiana where they didn't show up. So I don't believe that was the team. I think you'll see a team a lot more like this Penn State team. The team played Penn State than the team you saw against Nebraska.
And guys, I'm going to tell you this, and I think it goes back to Maurice's deal. It takes time for, as much as you can do it in the offseason, it really exemplifies itself as the team of being able to play and be comfortable with each other when it's live bullets involved. And it just took some time. And it took a situation like this to go on the road at Penn State to really come together and feel what does it mean to be having fun and playing with a chip and playing with that. Because, Bob, you and I have seen the practices. The practices have been elite, competitive, physical.
Yeah.
And so I think part of it I just think is just going through the maturity process as a team. You alluded to it when we talked to Tress about the leadership things and guys being authentically them. And here's the other thing. Will is emerging as that guy. Caleb is emerging. Though they transferred, Seth is emerging as those guys, along with the other guys that have already built in the building, and like when to talk, when not to talk, and just talk, but also go out there and do it with your pads. And you're seeing that with Q even, right? And Trey, and it's beautiful to watch. Like you and I get to see it. We just have a different perspective. We try to articulate it to our viewers, but I just think sometimes it's just taking some time. And I do believe, to your point, Bob, this is something that we're going to see moving forward in the future because now they've done it. Once you've done it and you feel it and you experience it, there is no going back. Like, that's the way it has to be every single time.
Okay. And we got one more here coming at you, Schlegel. This one's from ELB. Schlegel's OSU DB Lathan Ransom does not receive enough kudos and recognition for covering and shutting down the PSU tight end Warren on the 4th and goal situation, the goal line stand. We got about 30 seconds here, but he talked about, he outlined it earlier on the show. He knew when they did that, they like to run the mesh route, get him into the flats. That's film study, that's high GSF, and that's execution in critical moments.
Yeah, I mean, and Warren got him on one over there into the boundary, but guess what? You got me one, I got that one, right? And that's the beauty of competition. Good for Lathan. Obviously, turning point in the game right there.
Absolutely. All right. Coming next, we're going to wrap up the show. Schleg's parting thoughts here on the Bobby Carpenter Show.
We were called soft last year. You don't want to be soft, especially when you come to the playoffs. So that's going to be a process throughout this season of establishing us as a harder team here in the
I'm Garage Beer, and this is Bobby Carpenter.
Garage beer. Beer flavored beer.
Beef with an F? Okay, my bad. It's crisp and cool, and it doesn't taste like... I'm Bobby Carpenter. I drink in garages because my wife says I don't belong inside. If you like a cold breeze on your bag, drink Garage Beer. It's American, and so can you. Garage Beer. Beer flavored beer.
I don't buy into this nonsense, this conspiracy nonsense that he's got his money and he's dogging it. That's ridiculous.
All right, Schlegs, 30 seconds to wrap us up.
30 seconds. Hey, listen, Silver Bullet defense, we'll get into it more tomorrow. Held Penn State for the first time under 300 yards and the first time not scoring a touchdown in 10 years. Tip of the cap to the Silver Bullets. Lastly, 5-13. Remember that because that was a defining drive for this season. We'll come back to it. Hopefully in 2 months, we'll be like, that was the tip. That was the tipping point for the 2024 Buckeyes.
Well, just the tip, Schlegs. That's all you need. We'll be back live 12:30 tomorrow. Keep breaking down this game, talk some national stuff. Big things happened across the country as well. And as we get ready for this Purdue matchup here, big noon kick on Saturday for the Buckeyes. Thanks for tuning in to this edition of the Bobby Carpenter Show.